Daewoo Motors was a South Korean automotive company established in 1982, part of the Daewoo Group. It sold most of its assets in 2001 to General Motors, after running into financial trouble, becoming a subsidiary of the American company and being renamed GM Daewoo. In 2011, it was replaced by GM Korea. History. The company was first established as National Motor in 1937 in Bipyeong-gai, Incheon, South Korea. The name was changed to Saenara Motor in November 1962. Saenara was assembling and selling the Datsun Bluebird Place 310. The first automobile company in Korea, Saenara was equipped with modern assembly facilities, and was established after the automobile industry promotion policy was announced by the South Korean government in 1962. Saenara Motor was then bought by Shinjin Industrial in 1965, which changed its name to Shinjin Motors after establishing collaborations with Toyota. After Toyota's withdrawal in 1972, Shinjin Motors started a joint venture with General Motors under the name General Motors Korea, but was renamed again in 1976 to Seihan Motor. GMK shortly sold their record under the GMK mark, together with the Holden Tirana-based Chevrolet 1700. Member of the Daewoo Group. After the Daewoo Group gained control in December 1982, from January 1983, the name was officially changed to Daewoo Motor Company. Until 1996, all cars were based on models from General Motors. All Seihan models were named Daewoos, the Ma-Epsi being refreshed became the Ma-Epsi Na. The Royale series models were kept, Daewoo adding the Royale XQ and Royale Duke, Royale Prince and Royale Salon Super. Above the Royale range, the Daewoo Imperial flagship luxury car was added in 1989, with styling reminiscent of the contemporary Chrysler Imperial and New Yorker, but also luxury Japanese sedans. It was produced until 1993. The first Daewoo edition was the 1986 Daewoo Le Mans, based on the Opel Kadett E. Its three-door versions were called the Razor and the five-door version were called Penta 5. This car had an international ambition for GM, as it was sold almost worldwide, as the Pontiac Le Mans, Acer 1/4 GT and SE, or Passport Optima. This car was produced until February 1997, being one of Daewoo Motors' greatest successes. In 1986, Daewoo also offered a badge-engineered version of the Nissan Vanette. In 1990, they created the Espero, designed by Bertone, initiating a tradition at Daewoo Motor of models created by Italian designers. Daewoo Heavy Industries introduced in 1991, the Tico mini car, which was sold at Daewoo Motors dealers. DHI was also selling since 1981 the Damas minivan and the Labo mini pickup, all three being based on Suzuki models. When the Royale series range was discontinued, its models were slightly refreshed and offered under the Prince and Super Salon or Brougham model names until respectively 1997 and 1999. In 1992, the joint venture with General Motors ended, leaving Daewoo Motor as an independent company. In 1994, Daewoo started importing the second-generation Honda Legend to replace the discontinued flagship Imperial, under the name of Arcadia. This year, the Le Mans also got a slight refresh, and all variants were then sold under the Cielo model name. The first authentic Daewoo Motor product, the Lawnose, was introduced in late 1996. It spawned three variants, 4-door, 3-door, called Romeo, and a 5-door, the Juliet, being the first model of a whole new family of cars to be created. Styling was by Giorgetto Giugiaro's Atoll design firm. One of its main features was the new three-parts corporate grille, reminiscent of the Daewoo Motor emblem, which was to be used on many of the following Daewoo cars. In February 1997, the new Wira was launched, the first Daewoo model to be produced in their then new Kumsan motor plant. It was designed by the Italian-based IDEA Institute. In March 1997, the mid-sized Liganza followed, also designed by Giorgetto Giugiaro, borrowing some styling cues from the existing 1990 Jaguar Kensington concept car. In 1998 one of Daewoo's best-known cars was introduced, the Matiz. The design was again signed by Giorgetto Giugiaro and based on his 1992 Luciala concept car, which was initially imagined as a replacement for the Fiat Cinquecento. This car became Daewoo Motors' bestseller for the next 4 years. In 1999, Daewoo presented the Magnus, which was a development of the existing Leganza. Sold in Korea, alongside the Leganza, until the end of the latter's production in 2002, it existed in 2 variants, Classic and the sportier Eagle. The Rezzo minivan was also introduced in early 2000. The Matiz, Launus and Nuera got a midlife facelift in 2001. In 2002, the Magnus L6 was introduced, equipped with Daewoo's first straight-six engine, with a new front grille and lamps. The same year, Daewoo also presented the Kalos subcompact, designed to replace the Launus. Acquisition and later sale of Sanyong Motor. In 1998, after the Asian financial crisis, Daewoo Motor took over the troubled four-wheel drive specialist Sanyong Motor, only to sell it off again in 2000, because the conglomerate ran into deep financial troubles. Its models were sold under the Daewoo Sanyong badge in South Korea, contrary to other areas where they were sold under the Daewoo brand name. Sanyong's flagship limousine, the Chairman, was on its part integrated to the Daewoo range, becoming the Daewoo Chairman, with a new 3-parts Daewoo corporate grille. Sale of Daewoo to General Motors. By 1999, the whole Daewoo Group ran into financial trouble, and was forced to sell its automotive division. Candidates for the operation included Hyundai associated with Daimler Chrysler, Ford Motor Company and the GM Fiat Alliance. Finally, General Motors was the one who acquired Daewoo Motors assets. In 2002, Daewoo Commercial Vehicle Company was spun off from parent Daewoo Motor Company Limited. In 2004, it was acquired by Tata Motors, India's largest passenger automobile and commercial vehicle manufacturing company. Overseas engagements, Daewoo owned a share of Avtizes, an automobile manufacturer based in Ukraine, from 1998 to 2003, establishing the Avtizes Daewoo joint venture. The CKD assembly of the Daewoo Launus started in 2002 in Ukraine and later it was adopted for full-scale production as the ZAZ Launus. A version of the Daewoo-developed Chevrolet Aveo has been assembled for local market at the Ilishevsk subsidiary. Following the bankruptcy of Daewoo Motor in 2001, Ukravto Corporation bought out the Avtizes holding in 2002. All of the Avtizes manufacturing facilities were reincorporated into ZAZ. The company even adopted a new logo. The Daewoo part in the joint venture was bought out by the Swiss venture Hirsch & CIE in 2003. In August 1992, Daewoo set up as Daewoo Auto, a joint venture in Azekh, Uzbekistan, leveraging the presence of a large local ethnic Korean minority. Currently, the plant assembles the Matiz and the Nexia for both the local market and export, as well as the Lacetti hatchback and sedan for the domestic market only. In 1994, Daewoo acquired the automobile Craiova company in Craiova, Romania, which was producing a derivative of the Citroën Axle model, the old Cit Club. The company's name was changed to Romanian Daewoo Motor, abbreviated RODI, and later Daewoo Automobile Romania. The entire production facility was refurbished to mainly produce the Silo model and later, other models. Until 2008, it was producing the Daewoo Silo, Matiz and Nuera models for the Romanian market, but also car parts for export, such as engines and gearboxes to GM Daewoo and to other companies. The factory was acquired by the Romanian government and sold to Ford in 2007. The production of Daewoo models was stopped in May 2008, and Daewoo Automobile Romania became Ford Romania. Daewoo also invested into Poland's Fabryka Samochoda Cube W Osoboich in 1995, forming a joint venture called Daewoo FSO, for the assembly of the Matiz city car, a successor of the Tico, that was very popular in the Eastern European market. Since January 2005, FSO began to produce Matiz and Launus under their own trademark. When making a joint venture with the Polish company Fabryka Samochoda Cube WCA and registered trademark Angstrom 1/4 Aeroich in 1995, Daewoo also created Daewoo Motor Polska, which produced the Daewoo Lublin van and the Daewoo Honka pickup truck, based on the former Tarpan Honka. Daewoo Motor Polska and the British van manufacturer LDV developed together during this period of time the Maxus van and, after Daewoo Group's bankruptcy, LDV secured the exclusive rights to the vehicle, purchased the tooling and moved it from Daewoo's plant in Poland to the LDV site in Birmingham. FSC was then sold by Daewoo's new parent company General Motors to the British investment group Inchall and the Honkas designed to the Polish company Andoria Mo. In 1998, Daewoo Motor bought 50.2% of Avia, a Czech automotive company. The year after, the trade name of the company was changed to Daewoo Avia. In the same year, the company became the exclusive importer and distributor of Daewoo vehicles for the Czech Republic, and started manufacturing the Polish Lublin van and the new Avia D60/90 series truck range. General Motors' buyout plan did not include Daewoo Avia in 2001. In the year 2005, the company was overtaken by the investment group Eden Capital Partners, and in October 2006, the division of light trucks moved under the concern of Ashok Leyland of India, becoming Avia Ashok Leyland Motors Company. In 1998, the low-volume assembly of the Lawnose, New Era and the Leganza started in Taganrog, Russia. At the TAG AZ Doninvest factory, the cars were sold on the local market under the Doninvest brand, as the Assault, Orion and Condor respectively. The project did not have much success, so TAG AZ turned to Citroën to produce the Berlingo, and Hyundai to produce the Accent. Following the General Motors buyout in 2002, Daewoo lost interest in its overseas assets. The deals on supplies of pre-assembled CKD kits ended in 2005 and the facilities were likely to rely on its own production capabilities from that point on. Marketing outside South Korea. Before the General Motors buyout, Daewoo cars were available in different countries. In Europe, Daewoo Motors started selling the Espero and the Cielo in early 1995. The range was then completed with the Lawnose, New Era and Leganza. The Matiz City car was released in 1998, and was a great success for the company, most notably in non-Asian countries such as Italy, where it won many awards such as the Car of the Year award 3 times in a row, in 1998, 1999 and 2000. The Rezzo, Evander and Kalos models were then released, before the Sanyong-based SUVs, Corando, Misso and Rexton. After the General Motors buyout, the Daewoo models received a new badge, and were sold under the Daewoo name until 2003. The Lacetti was the last car to bear a Daewoo badge in Europe. The other Daewoo models were later rechristened as Chevrolets. Daewoo cars were also available in the United States and Canada between 1997 and 2002, Australia and many other countries, until Daewoo's bankruptcy. Since Daewoo's withdrawal from many markets, the Lawnose was replaced with Chevrolets as the Aveo, whereas the New Era and Leganza were given replacements from either the Chevrolet or Suzuki brands. In January 2005, the Chevrolet brand was introduced in Europe, the whole Daewoo range being simply rebadged as Chevrolet. General Motors' official tagline was that a Euro OE Daewoo has grown up enough to become Chevrolet a Euro. It was also considered that this new name was an opportunity for Daewoo to become stronger. Unofficially, after Daewoo's bankruptcy, former chairman Kim Woo-Chung's escape and most notably the Daewoo affair in France, the Daewoo brand name had a very bad image, so that GM simply decided to extend the Chevrolet strategy that was already used in most other markets since 2003 to create a real global brand, replacing the Daewoo dual kidney with the Chevrolet Botti. The Windstorm and Tosca were presented as the Chevrolet Captiva and the Chevrolet Epica. Some of the former Daewoo models changed their names after the rebranding decision. Examples are the Matiz, which became Chevrolet Spark in some markets, or the Kalos, which became the Aveo. Later, the tendency went towards a uniformization in the Chevrolet Europe range. The Spark and the Cruze bear the same model names throughout all European markets. However, besides in South Korea, the Daewoo brand continued to exist in some overseas markets several years after its replacement with Chevrolet, particularly in those countries where Daewoo Motors' former facilities were not part of the General Motors takeover plan. Examples of markets where it continued to be used for former Daewoo models are Romania, Ukraine, Egypt and, as an exception, Vietnam. Furthermore, the brand continues to exist in Uzbekistan, whereas in Poland the Daewoo models continued to be produced until 2008. Emblems, slogans and logos. The first car logo was the Daewoo Group logo lettering. The Royale series featured a crown-like logo, very similar to the Daewoo Royals football team logo. A double-D logo was then used on the cars. Giugiaro redesigned this logo in 1994. On the European SUV line, Daewoo Motor used a new version of this emblem, more squared. Later on, this logo was used by Daewoo Commercial Vehicle Company Limited and Tata Daewoo. GM Daewoo emblem in 2002, a modernized evolution of the Daewoo Motor logo. Slogans, 1995. A different kind of car company? That'll be the Daewoo. 1995, Daewoo, That's Who. 2000, Better Future. 2002, Driving Innovation. 2008, New Ways, Always. Daewoo Performance Automobiles. Daewoo Performance Automobiles was the performance car division of GM Daewoo. Like Holden's HSV, this company modified GM Daewoo models in South Korea and marketed them under the DPA brand name. See also: Daewoo Bus, Daewoo Motor Sales, General Motors, GM Korea, List of Daewoo models, List of Korean car makers. References. External links: Daewoo Motor Romania, official Generations of GM Wiki site, GM Daewoo, daewootech.com, a Euro-friendly forum for Daewoo owners. Daewoo section in nowmotors.net, Egypt's largest car forum.